Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to another session of a seminar, ECOM, ECIE and Mechatronic 3100. And today we're going to focus on the jobs to be done and pains, which is experienced by your persona. So let's have a recap of the persona, problem identification and the 5 whys method. And then we're going to continue on the jobs to be done, followed by technical pains or problems, and finally your task for this week. Okay, so we are already in week 6. So basically you have already gone through the lecture on the problem identification and persona, followed by the lecture on target user and 5 whys method. And today we're going to go deeper on the jobs to be done and the technical pains. Now recap on the problem identification. So your focus is on the problems, not the ideas, not the solution yet. So you have to focus on the problem identification. So step 1 is by selecting the industry, whether you want to focus on the healthcare or the sustainable energy. Step 2 is identifying your persona, the one that is experiencing the problem. Step 3, identify a problem which is faced by your persona or your target user. Step 4, find the root cause to the problem, 5 whys method in the previous lecture. Step 5 is identify a target user and understand the challenges faced by your target user, which we are going to cover today. Step 6 is identify what your target user needs. Step 7 is benchmarking and the solution ideation. And step 8, presenting your idea. So the steps in problem identification. Step 1 is by defining the problem. So what is the issue you are trying to address? What is the problem and what is the supporting data? Step 2 is by clarifying the problem. So ask yourself, is it a top priority to resolve the problem at this point in time? What is the root cause of the problem? Do your 5 whys to identify the root cause. Next, define your goals. So ask yourself, what will you accomplish if you fix this problem? What you want to achieve by the end of project timeline? And who is your target user or your persona? Step 4 is by doing benchmarking. How does your target user currently address the problem? What is the unmet needs? And what are the gaps in the solution? So our objective here is to keep on probing until the genuine root cause have been identified. The problem solution will then be verified to confirm that the root cause was accurately identified. So you have to identify the problem. Why did the problem arise? Ask again why, until you get into the root cause. So make sure that the identified why is controllable. So if not, take a step back and redo your whys. So let us look into the first problem in the sustainable energy industry. So the problem is long hours of inspection at the solar panel farm. So you have already asked yourself the 5 whys. Why does this problem occur? Because the solar panel needs to be inspected manually. And then ask again, why does this problem occur? Because you need to thoroughly check the bond between solar panel with the grounding system using an electric grounding conductor. Why does W2 occur? because the EGC is closely attached to the racking of solar panel. Why does W3 occur? Because you have to run the EGC through the conduit, through all the equipment enclosures to the main service panel and the main grounding system. And then ask yourself again, why does W4 occur? Because the underground conduit is hard to be inspected. So finally, you have identified the root cause of the problem, which is underground conduit is hard to be inspected. So our objective here is to provide a mechanism that can inspect the underground conduit from above the ground. Next, let us look at another example in the healthcare industry. So you have identified the problem is high rate of lower limb amputation among diabetic patients that leads to low quality of life. So you ask yourself, why does this problem occur? Because diabetic foot ulcers, which is not well controlled. Ask yourself again, why does W1 occur? Because poor foot care among diabetic patients. Next, why does W2 occur? Because foot area that has developed foot ulcer is not properly offloaded. And then ask yourself again, foot ulcers is painless and patient has no indication when they overpressure the foot ulcer area. And finally, many cannot afford diabetic footwear that can assist with proper walking when foot ulcer occurs. So you have finally come to the root cause of the problem. So from there, you can provide a solution, which is to have a mechanism that is affordable and assist the diabetic patient with proper walking. Now, you have already identified the persona, which is your target user, the one that is experiencing the problem. Then you have also identified the problem that you want to focus on, and you have also refined it using the 5 whys method. Now, what are the jobs or jobs to be done that the persona have to accomplish? Next, what are the technical pains or the problems, the challenges, the frustrations that they are facing? This circle over here represents the user profile. A user profile is a tool that is used to profile your target user or your persona, the one that is experiencing the problem. You can empathize with your user by asking, first, their jobs or jobs to be done. What are the jobs they are trying to accomplish? Next is the pains. What is hard or unpleasant about their current way of doing their jobs? And finally, the gains. What is desirable or delightful in an ideal solution? Let us focus on the jobs to be done. Okay, jobs to be done or jobs, tasks, practices, or responsibilities is a method for igniting innovation by understanding the user's needs and goals. By adopting a certain solution, the target is to get the user to successfully complete the task and in the process to sustain its relevance for the users and to use them for future reference. However, if the solutions prove unsuccessful, they must find better and more successful alternatives. Therefore, before you start focusing on the solutions, you should first focus on understanding and empathizing the user. So these are the ways where you may analyze the jobs to be done. First, define the step-by-step of how the persona can get the jobs done. Next, Why other personas are doing what they do in each step of the task. Finally, identify the important steps in order to ensure a task is carried out successfully. A persona's pain is a very specific, problematic issue that they are facing in the current product or service. To put it simply, pains are difficulties, challenges, or problems that the user or the persona encounters. So in our course, pains is referring to the technical pains. So these are the ways where you may analyze the problems that is being faced by the persona. First, you have to define the technical pains faced by the persona in order to perform their job. Next, you have to state the reasons that caused them the problem. And finally, identify reasons why the problem still exists. Okay, let us recap back the example that we have before. Okay, so the problem here is long hours of inspection at the solar panel farm. You have identified the problem, and you have also identified the persona or the target user who is experiencing this problem, which is a solar engineer. So now let us look into the jobs to be done and also the pains which is experienced by the solar engineer. Jobs to be done by a solar engineer. First, they have to check for damaged solar panels. They have to do regular updates on the condition of solar panels. They have to carry out a visual inspection for panel damage, moisture penetration, fractures, and frame corrosion. And they have to ensure good conditions of all the functioning equipment. So what are the technical pains and the problems faced by the persona or the solar engineer in this case? The engineers have to spend 5 hours to inspect a 20 solar panel system. A 1 megawatt solar farm has over 5,000 solar panels. They have to do manual panel inspection, which is laborious but need to be done frequently to increase the lifespan of the solar panel. Let us look into another example, which is the high rate of lower limb amputation among diabetic patients that leads to low quality of life. Okay, this problem is experienced by a diabetic patients with ulcer occurring on their sole. So now let us look into the jobs to be done and also the pain that is experienced by these diabetic patients. The jobs to be done by a diabetic patient. First, they have to lead a normal life and must maintain a healthy lifestyle. They have to do frequent checks on the condition of their sole to see if any ulcer develops. They have to keep the sole area clean and dry at all times to avoid any bacterial infections. They must maintain a proper walking to ensure no excessive pressure is applied on the ulcer area or overly exert pressure on other area or other foot. And finally, if the ulcer occurs, they need to perform good wound care practice so that the wound can heal as soon as possible. So what are the technical pains and the problems faced by the diabetic patients? The first problem, diabetic footwear is expensive and not affordable by most patients. The wound took at least 1 month to heal. So most of the daily life routine is limited since they need to restrict usage on the wounded foot. Sometimes they are not aware of the wounded sole since they feel almost no pain. And finally, Crutches is not favorable by most of them because in the early stage, the small wound give almost no pain at all. So I hope by these two examples, you already know how to identify the jobs to be done and also the technical pains or problems that is faced by the persona or the target user. So your task for this week is discuss in your team and identify the jobs to be done and the technical pains or problems which is faced by the persona. You can also consult your supervisor if you need further clarification. So please submit your homework in group submission by using the template given latest by next Thursday, 24th of November on the Microsoft Teams. So this shall include first the persona or the target user, and then the jobs to be done, and finally the technical pains or the problems. And this would be the template. So you have to fill in the persona, the jobs to be done by the persona or your target user, and the technical pains and the problems that is experienced by the persona or your target user.